This is the home of Barrie Thorpe. It's 710 Iowa Avenue in Aurora, Illinois. Just an old man I met one day at a Denny's. And he apparently knew my grandfather's cousin, Jim McCarran, back in the 1950s. So just having a little visit with Barrie. Let's see. Hello, Barrie. Just saying a quick hello. Doing a quick hello on video. And you said you knew my grandfather's cousin, Jim McCarran, back in the 1950s, right?
Right.
And you worked with him briefly?
Well, I stayed with him at this residence in Oak Park in the fall of '53 and into the spring of '54.
Wow.
You know,
But you haven't seen him since the 1950s, right? Jim McCarran, my grandfather's cousin.
Trying to think back at that time. I may have visited him or seen him, or maybe briefly when after I moved up to Evanston from Oak Park. I came back through Oak Park, and I might have had a chat with him or called him or something.
Was that in the 1950s or later?
No, that would have probably been 1956 or 55 or 56, somewhere along in there.
Okay.
And I left that brokerage firm in, I think it was in April or May of 1956. No, it might have been May or June of 1956.
Okay. And he was, and so, I met him a couple times when I was a teenager, but he lived in Oak Park, and he died in 1984, I think. So, just get a quickie. And this is your parents here. They lived in this house since the early 1920s. Your father, who died in 1974, and your mother, who died in 1982. So really, this house has been in your family since the early 1920s, right?
Yeah.
Wow. What was your father and mother's name?
They're G and Josephine Irene. There was a nickname, Thorpe.
J and Josephine Irene Thorpe.
Yeah.
With an E at the end of Thorpe. All right. That is kind of neat.
Do you know anybody on in Chicago that was connected with the FBI or the special investigators?
Did I know anybody?
Did you know any of those people?
Just in general, or McCarran you're talking about, or?
Well, no, not.
Because my uncle Walter McCarran was a coroner in Chicago.
Yeah, he was in trucking business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My great grandfather was in trucking.
Oh, he was.
And he had truck manufacturing.
Oh.
And then later there was a McCarran Ford dealership in Chicago in the I have found out all this from a distant relative of mine who's 94 years old.
Oh,
He actually worked for my great grandfather. So, but yeah, let me think. The Jim McCarran that you knew in the 50s was he was basically a cousin and a nephew to these people. These people, I think, as far as I know, there's a McCarran truck manufacturing, but not a trucking company. I think they had a Teamsters company or something like that.
Oh.
A teamer, like back in the days of the horses. It gets a little confusing, but then later, by the 1930s, maybe early 40s, there's definitely a McCarran Ford dealership in Chicago. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Yeah. Here's Barrie's high school yearbook picture. Class of 44.
Yes, 44.
Yep, class of 44, West Aurora High School. There he is. Yep. Acapella choir, glee club, mixed chorus, and